This Sunday, when the New York Times publishes its list of best-selling books, The Obama Nation by Jerome Corsi will debut at #1 in nonfiction. The hardcover, subtitled Leftist Politics and the Cult of Personality, is published by Threshold Editions, a division of Simon & Schuster. The chief editor of the imprint is former Dick Cheney advisor Mary Madeline. Our third story on the countdown, bestseller or not, the assertions about Barack Obama in Corsi's book and the cast of characters surrounding its publication stretch the credulity of its classification as non-fiction. If the name Jerome Corsi is familiar to you, it's probably because of his role in concocting wild lies about John Kerry's war record in 2004. Corsi's previous bestseller, Unfit for Command, was a foundation for the scurrilous but politically effective Swiftboat campaign against Kerry. You may also remember Corsi's apology for using the word raghead to describe Muslims on the website Free Republic. He also apologized for using the phrase boy bumpers, though I still have no idea what that was all about. You may remember Corsi for his sober allegations that Hillary Clinton is a lesbian, that John Kerry is both a Jew and a communist, and his allegations that Muslims actually worship Satan. You may remember Jerome Corsi for his recent book attacking the liberal myth that oil is a finite resource, since he, Jerome Corsi, has learned how to make new oil. You may remember Corsi for his scholarly rebuke of George W. Bush's secret plan to merge the United States into Mexico. Okay, honestly, you probably don't remember Jerome Corsi at all, because why would you pay attention to someone with a record like that? But Corsi's new anti-Obama book will be #1 on that bestseller list for at least 2 weeks running, despite fact-checking by news organizations, including the New York Times, showing it to be rife with errors and inaccuracies. And the Obama camp is now firing back, issuing a 40-page rebuttal titled Unfit for Publication, soon appearing at Obama's Fight the Smears website. The campaign promising to forcefully respond with all means at their disposal. Nonetheless, the book is selling well, due essentially to hundreds of right-wing talk show interviews and large volume bulk sales to right-wing organizations. A tactic to be discussed now with my next guest. Eric Burns, admired by cable news' audience and his own colleagues for holding a mirror to his own profession, often exposing conflicts of interest or dubious reporting as a former host of a weekly program. Eric is also the author of Whoppers, the Biggest Lies in the History of Journalism and Their Consequences. Eric Burns, thank you so much for being here.
The Biggest Lies in the History of Journalism, Rachel, is a book that does not say anything about countdown. And after so gracious an introduction, I am so relieved.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you back. What do you make of this Jerome Corsi book, Eric?
Well, I think the book and books like it are the new negative campaign ad. New not in the sense, Rachel, of replacing the old, but new in the sense of finding a new venue for different people. Because even in this, what I like to call post-literate society, the book still has a lot of cachet. That's why so many celebrities spend millions of dollars hiring ghostwriters to write books for them. Something in a book has more cachet, has more inherent believability than a blog. Second reason that I think this is an effective way to go is that there is no direct association between a book and the campaign. If there is to be heat, and we know there is to be against this book, it will not be directed against McCain, it will be directed against Corsi and the publishing house.
Well, factually speaking, this book is being debunked left, right, and center. Yeah. And Corsi's anti-Kerry book was debunked too, but politically it did a lot of damage. Do you see this anti-Obama book getting traction in the way the anti-Kerry book and the anti-Kerry campaign did in 2004?
Well, I don't think so, because one of the criticisms that Kerry's people made about him 4 years ago was that when the charges came out about the Swift boats, and when the book came out, that he didn't take them seriously enough, and he probably didn't take them seriously enough because he didn't believe they were serious charges. Well, the Obama people have reacted in a manner 180 degrees different. They've already come out with 40 pages of rebuttal. I haven't had a chance to read all those 40 pages yet, but one thing that does seem certain, Rachel, is that one of the numerous mistakes in the book, or I should say several of the numerous mistakes, is that the book has, Corsi has, I should say, Obama in church listening to Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who for a while I thought was the Democratic candidate for president with all the coverage he was getting, on days when Obama's schedule proves he was not in Chicago. So if the campaign continues to find errors like this, continues to respond as quickly as it does, I don't think it's going to have nearly the same effect. And let me, you didn't ask me this, but I just have to mention this to you. You know, one of the other things that gives a book cachet, a nonfiction book, is footnotes. You look at the back of the book and you see all these footnotes, dozens of pages, and you say, this guy did a lot of research. Well, before the show tonight, and I didn't have time to do more, I would have had time to do more, but nobody told me I was going to follow the lady who did the hog calling, or I still would have counted more. But of the first 11 footnotes in the book, in 9 of them, Corsi quotes Corsi. In other words, he quotes previous writings of his own.
He's sourcing his claims to himself.
It's nice. A dubious practice, to say the least, yes.
Eric, let me ask you about one aspect of this, how this got to be #1 in the bestseller list. The New York Times front-paged an article this week about this book hitting its own bestseller list. In that article, they debunked many of the book's claims, and they interestingly attributed the success of the book in part to what they said, quote, was a large volume of bulk sales. What does that say to you?
Very important. Bulk sales means that instead of an individual going into a store to buy a book, an organization buys dozens of books, hundreds of books, maybe even thousands of books. What this means is that the whole picture of the book's popularity is skewed. What has happened here, and this isn't my opinion, and I'll tell you why it's not my opinion in just a minute, but what has happened here is that several conservative groups have bought large numbers of this book, and they're giving them out to fellow conservatives, or for all I know, they're putting them on the shelves somewhere. The New York Times, recognizing this, will put the book at #1 on the bestseller list this week with a dart next to it. The dart means bulk sales. You can't trust the figures. Important
point. Eric Burns, author of the upcoming Whoppers, the biggest lies in the history of journalism and their consequences. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Eric.
Happy to give it to you.